Just take action. That's it. Don't overthink to the point of inaction. Just take action.
Hello and welcome to the Jumpstart podcast with Jeffalytics. I'm your host, Jeff Sauer. Today, for our 30th episode, we'll talk with Andrea Warner, an A/B testing evangelist and community architect at Big Barker. Andrea and I met earlier this year in Salt Lake City when I talked with the local SLCSEM organization about Google Analytics and automation. I remember just being so positively blown away by the people of Salt Lake City. They're so sharp, positive, and really genuinely nice people. And Andrea is no exception. We started our interview like two old friends talking. Andrea shared her very interesting story. Now, I don't want to bury the lead, but she was a special ed teacher, and then how she was able to break into this online marketing industry. So you won't believe the incredible break she had to get started here. Fortunately, Andrea shared it with us in great detail now that the statute of limitations has passed. So we get to hear about Andrea's progression and what she's up to all in today's episode. For show notes, visit jeffalytics.com/Andrea. So we're here today with Andrea Warner. Andrea, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to be here, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And let's start with a question that we always ask on the podcast. And what was that moment the light bulb went off and you decided that this is the right career for you?
Okay, to answer that question, I'm going to have to go into my backstory a little bit. You ready for that?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so here's the deal. In 2005, I got divorced and I had 5 little kids. They were in elementary, preschool, even younger than preschool. And I had to go back to work. I had a master's degree in special education. And so I had no problem finding a special ed job. And I did that for a couple of years. And I realized when I went back into it that for me personally, teaching was kind of a dead end job. I didn't want to be a guidance counselor. I didn't want to be a principal. And I loved working with the students. That was so much fun. But there's so much bureaucracy in schools. You know, the federal government is involved in special education. So that should tell you everything you need to know, right?
Yep.
And anyway, also I quickly realized I wasn't going to be able to support my family on a teacher's salary. And that's a sad, hard thing about education. But it was the truth. I couldn't support my family on it.
Yeah. So
I started looking for other jobs, and I came from, a job world. Everybody I knew had jobs. And I had some interviews, but at best they were lateral moves, right? And so I was faced with going back to school that fall, and a friend of mine who knew I'd been looking for a job, her husband called me and asked me if I wanted to come work for him as a business coach. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I have no idea how to do that. And if any of my coaching clients hear this, I'm sorry you didn't know this beforehand, but I think it turned out okay.
Oh yeah, it's all about the value you're giving them, not whether it's how they feel in the end. That's what I've learned as a marketer. It's all about how people feel in the end.
Well, I still am great friends and have contact with a lot of them to this day. So hopefully that says something about how I did. Anyway, he brought me on as a business coach and he did train us. I mean, he did a great job. Coaching is a wonderful thing. I advise it for anybody. If you need to get stuff done, get a coach. And I don't do it anymore, although I thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyway, so I was working with people at a place called StomperNet. So back in the day, that was the cool online community for business owners, entrepreneurs, marketers. And their focus at the time was kind of SEO, but they matured really quickly. And when you learn anything about marketing, you learn about conversion rate optimization. I mean, if you're working with people that know what they're doing, you're going to be hearing about that.
Yep.
So here I am thrown into this advanced marketing community. Jeff, I'm telling you, I couldn't spell URL. I had no idea. I had no idea what a URL was. I didn't know what a browser was. Before I went to work there, I had bought one thing online ever on eBay, and my friend had to help me. Yeah, I'm not kidding. And so I get trained to be a coach, and I get in, and it was the best education. I can't even tell you how wonderful it was. For 2.5 years, all day, every day, I spoke with successful online business owners. And I had thought about going back to school for a PhD, but this time at StomperNet was better than a PhD. I learned so many things. And when you talk to that many people for a while, things start to kind of emerge before your eyes. So for example, I noticed something that I like to call programmer syndrome. And that's because I noticed it first with the programmers, but it applies to everybody.
Okay.
People want to do what they're good at. So if in their head they're a programmer and a business owner, they feel like they should be doing their own programming. And the reality is they shouldn't.
Yep.
Right? And the same goes for copywriters, for web designers, for whatever it is your specialty is. If you're doing that and you're a business owner, most times people will let that get in the way. That everything will be held up because they have to do their own programming.
Interesting. I've thought about that a lot lately, and I think that's definitely something I'm noticing as I build up my business as well, is that the business owner, they should hire somebody to do the things that they're good at, and then they should focus on filling in the gaps and the weaknesses and growing the areas that maybe aren't, that they're not great at in order to round out the business.
That is so spot on. We're going to talk more about that too. I hope you don't mind.
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay. Another thing I noticed was I call it overthinker syndrome because I don't know what else to call it. But I noticed that some of the people that maybe came across as not quite as intelligent were often wildly successful. And I'm like, what is going on? Why? How? But I'll tell you what, they just do stuff. They don't question everything to death. They don't delay and feel like they need to know everything before they start. They just take action. And that was quite an eye-opener for me too, because that was a theme that very clearly developed.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. People sitting on the sidelines and sort of judging what other people are doing. And then you're right, the ones who just create, who do things, are the ones who get more done. That's just how it goes. And sometimes they'll just find people that can then clean up the mess or that can get things going. But I agree with you 100%.
Okay. And then one of the most valuable things I learned, and I didn't even understand what it meant at the time, but another thing that I saw develop is the people that were the most successful with their online businesses and the happiest. So not just successful, but the happiest. They had two things in common. And honestly, I didn't even really understand what they were when I first started. But they were really good at outsourcing and they were really good at conversion optimization. Mm-hmm. And outsourcing, I'm not talking just overseas. I mean just leveraging their time. Okay. And then conversion optimization. I was so lucky to be at StomperNet when I was, because there were seriously some of the brightest minds in the industry there at that time. One of them is my friend Andy Edmonds. He was a fellow at eBay. And anyway, he's so smart and he's done all kinds of stuff with eye tracking. And he's truly a genius, and especially at conversion optimization. And so I learned a lot from him about it. And I was instantly fascinated with it. I just feel like conversion optimization is the perfect intersection of psychology and science and human behavior. And I love it.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating too. So I'm curious, like, you found that they were happy because they did that. Is that because of the result, or is that because of the mindset that goes into optimization?
Let's see. If we think about that for a minute, I think some of it is the mindset, but a lot of it is also the lifestyle that they were able to lead. They didn't have to work all the time. They're outsourcing well, so they're not having to do it all themselves. So they had a life, basically. Yep.
That's amazing advice, because that's exactly what I'm finding in my own business, and I've seen around the business I've been a part of as well, is that the more you can let go, like we said earlier, and the more you can, if you can create that sales machine, it's half the battle is getting people to buy what you have, and the other half is buying your time back then at that point. And so those are both great points.
Do you want to hear my first foray into outsourcing?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm talking to business owners all day about this and talking to them about not spending their time on low value items, things that could be easily outsourced for $5 an hour. Why are they spending their time doing it? And so I looked at my own life, and I was so busy. I had all these little kids and I was working full time, and, I just had no free time. And I quickly wanted to start doing my own online marketing because it's so fun and interesting. And I was like, okay, where am I going to get more time? And I looked at my day, looked at my schedule, and the first thing I did was outsource housekeeping. So I hired a housekeeper, and they'd come in for 2 hours a week and save me 15 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought myself some time that way. That was the first thing that I did.
I think that's great. I mean, I agree with that, mentality. One thought I have about that, and maybe this is getting us derailed a little bit, but is do you find that helps you make more, like, if you outsource certain things, does it help you create more opportunity to make money then? Like if you figure out this piece, then there's more opportunities, and it basically pays itself back. Because one thing I found is that some people will just say, "Oh, I'm going to outsource to save time," and then they can't really tie it back to growth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to use that time to then go back and grow your business and grow your contacts, grow whatever you're trying to grow.
Right. Well, for me, it's easy. Am I better off struggling how to figure out this thing in WordPress, or should I outsource that for $11 an hour and spend that time making contacts?
Yep.
It's a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, WordPress is frustrating sometimes.
Great. So you're around all these successful people. You're learning what makes them tick, and one of the things that everybody has in common is their ability to get people to convert. I think that's great. I mean, I'm looking at your marketer's brain chest, and Robert says that you're an SEO wizard, integrity. How was that experience?
It was fantastic. First of all, people used to be able to kind of game the system, keyword stuffing, spinning content. But all along, all Google wanted was good, unique content.
Yep.
And so now it's a lot harder to game the system. And really, I don't know why you would. I mean, just produce good content, basically. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, that is all there is to it. And I think that at least that's the long-term sustainable plan, is to build a brand. And that's what brands do, is they build consistent experiences for people that make them want to keep on coming back.
Yeah, but right along with that is build an audience. That's what you really need.
Yes. And I think that SEO is just one tactic in order to build an audience, and it's pretty strong one, but it's not the only one that's out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I saw lots of business owners that relied on just SEO go out of business or really struggle, really have a hard time. And that was a really, really good lesson that I learned too, is never, ever rely on one marketing channel.
Yeah, and build something that's long lasting, that will be there at some point in time. Like, you can rent Google's search engine result pages space. You can rent that for quite some time, but the problem is when it goes away. So how do you turn the rental into something you own? How do you own that customer? How do you own that experience? How do you keep them coming back to what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. You have to think of Google and Facebook and even Twitter and LinkedIn, really, Pinterest. I mean, you have to think of these sites as advertising agencies. Google is an advertising agency, and they have a search engine as their loss leader. Facebook has a social network as their loss leader. That's how they get you in the door, and they've got to make sure that people want to keep coming through their door. And so their primary interest is in creating a good environment for people so that you want to come back and click on their ads. And that's what keeps their lights on.
Yep, absolutely. And then, our job is to not only just get the traffic, but also to get the traffic to do something. And I'm guessing that sort of, as you went through, it's always been a consistent piece of this is conversion optimization.
Yeah, always. I just couldn't understand why people don't do it. It's not hard. I mean, the technology has gotten so easy to use. And people are they're either spending time or money. This is something I might talk about again too. But you're either spending time or money to get traffic. And why would you not leverage that? And so if you're already paying, if you have a huge advertising budget, why would you not want to get more conversions from that? I've heard people say, I'll just go buy more traffic. But you'll make more money. And I mean, conversion isn't just about making money, of course. It's about providing a better experience for your customers. And so if you provide a better experience for them, they'll want to come back, and that'll even increase your lifetime customer value.
Yeah. I wonder, have you done any research into the psychology behind why somebody would just say, I'll throw more money at the problem instead of trying to fix it? Is it because of their performance metrics? Is it because they just they're scared of it? Because I do find that, conversion in general, I've been around a lot of conversion speakers and conference people, and they're sort of like their own breed of people, and their focus is so specific that I think it can be intimidating to some people that are sitting on the sidelines. And so do you think that maybe they're just intimidated by it? Is it because there's no, is it because they just haven't been educated? And this might be a good transition into where you went after Marketer's Brain Trust as well.
The conversion optimization industry, in my opinion, is really made up of the smartest marketers, because the people that know that you should be doing conversion testing and are able to do it, I mean, they are wicked smart, these people.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, finishing up your origin story, you went on to which Test One from there?
Yeah, I went to, I spoke at a few Which Test One conferences, and I went to speak at one in May of 2014, and they asked me to come on as a publisher. And then I later became the president and publisher of Which Test One. It was so fun reading the tests that we had submitted. Oh my gosh, I have never seen anything like it. I mean, so many clever people in the world. And just, I love to be surprised. And it doesn't matter how smart you are, tests will surprise you.
Yes.
Because your customers are always going to be different. I've seen tests where a blue underlined hyperlink outperformed a big orange button. I mean, who would think that would happen in this day and age? But it does.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to best practices versus what's in the field, right? It adds a lot more context to it. You can test pretty much anything and see if it's going to work or not.
Right. Well, and the thing is, it has to work on your audience. That's the trick, is you can't just take tests and say, oh, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to change that on my site. You have to test it, because your audience might react completely differently, and you won't know until you test.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. So Which Test One is something that I use in my university class. I show the tool to the students, and then to show them the power of how this all works, we all vote with a show of hands which test we think won. And we're always wrong. The majority of hands are always guessing the wrong one, or we think we know why something happened, and then we see the results, and it's a really good conversation point, and I think a great transition for those who are maybe scared or on the fence of whether it's important or not. It's a really good introduction and a really good way to get people's wheels turning about what they can do.
That is fantastic. I love to hear that. We tried really hard to find tests that would surprise people, but then sometimes you have to show tests that aren't surprising to, keep people thinking and trip them up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that the exposure for all of us to these things is such a great opportunity. It's a shared learning, and it can really just get our wheels turning. Like I told you before, the reason why I do this podcast is to get people's wheels turning about things they can do. I think that obviously Which Test One does the same thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed working there and meeting people from all over the world that are running really, really cool tests.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you doing now?
Well, now I am working as a content and conversion optimization strategist for global brands, and it is so much fun. I really am just having a blast. I'm working with a couple different e-commerce businesses with their marketing, building out different marketing channels. I'm the CMO of a jewelry store, and if you know me, you know I love jewelry. And I also, Jeff, I get such great joy. I take such great pride in bringing high quality content to the masses. I love doing that. I've done webinars since 2008 and just really, really enjoy it. And so I am doing, I'm calling them quick classes for an advertising agency that's here in my own state, which is interesting. I haven't done anything local ever.
Great. So what are those? What do you do in those courses? Teaching?
Well, this particular advertising agency, they concentrate on what I think are the most important parts of running a successful business. They concentrate on paid ads, CRO, and analytics. And so we talk about topics that have to do with those three things.
Nice. And the audience for that is their clients or potential, or who are you sending this to?
Both potential clients, existing clients, and anybody else that wants to come in and listen. We did one just today on Facebook ads versus Google ads, and had some nice case studies. And I love doing stuff like that. I just think it's so fun. People need to know this stuff, and I love getting them the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Freeing the information to people and letting them know what's available. Okay, so that's a cool transition to sharing cases of people who were successful and having been successful, but then also now going out there and creating some new case studies, some new results for sounds like a really nice list of clients as well. I love hearing from people, especially when it's fresh, that they went on their own and started, doing consulting and everything. How has that been, like the transition to consulting and to do that type of stuff?
Well, I'm going to be honest. It was super, super scary, but I had the opportunity to redesign my life, and I decided to do it. And I just thought about what I wanted to be doing in the world. And I mentioned that I love giving out high quality content. I love doing that. And I also wanted to feel like I was really doing something to make the world a better place. And I'm doing that in a couple different ways. I'm working with some animal rescues, and then jewelry might not sound like it's doing good in the world, but they're buying jewelry for the most important moments in their lives, and I've really enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I can see that. That's really cool. Great. Well, let's get into our what we call the rapid fire question section, and I'm just going to ask a bunch of questions and hear your thoughts on them.
All right.
So, how did your education in special education help you with your career in online marketing?
In a couple of ways. Special education, we studied behavior management like crazy. And that correlates so closely with behavioral psychology and selling psychology. And really, I feel like I was way ahead of the game because I had that education. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's a pretty high correlation between entrepreneurs and ADD. So I already knew how to work with people with ADD. I've always said, and I've even written an article called Thank Heavens for ADD, because after working with all the business owners that I did, I learned that they're the ones that go out and create things in the world. They don't fit into the square pegs that society has created. They have to make their own way in the world. And so thank heavens for that.
Yes. So what did you think would be really scary in your career but ended up being easy?
Leaving teaching I thought would be really scary, but falling into online marketing, I felt like a fish in water. It was incredible. It was this world that I had no idea existed. I really had no idea. And I love it so much. That's one thing. Another thing is speaking on stage. I used to be terrified, and now I think it's kind of fun. Even when I accidentally swore on stage at Adobe Summit in London this year. It was so embarrassing. I laughed. It was silly, but I had just gotten braces off. I had braces for a few months, and I was still kind of getting used to finding my way around my mouth without them. And I totally was transitioning, and I totally swore on stage.
I've seen a lot of speakers get by only by swearing. Like, it's not an accident for most speakers to swear on stage. So I think you'll be forgiven on that one. No problem.
It was for me, just to be clear.
Yeah. What did you wish you knew when you started in the industry?
I wish that I could have wrapped my head around that concept of leveraging my time faster than I did. I mean, I come from Utah, and we're pioneers here. We make things from scratch. We build things from scratch. We learn things ourselves. And it was so foreign to me to get outside into the international world and realize that not everybody thinks like that. And just learn how much, it just makes so much sense. Why am I spending 10 hours doing something that I can pay somebody else $5 an hour to do? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I think that everybody should pick up on that. I think it's really important to do that, especially if you want to get outsized results. If you want to scale yourself, that's the only way you can really do it. Can't print more hours in the day.
Exactly. You got it.
What do you think is the future of A/B and multivariate testing?
I think it is the future. It's becoming mainstream. Businesses have realized that they have got to get more ROI on their advertising dollars, and this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And another thing I'd like to mention, you said you work with students. It's a fantastic job market. Learn how to do conversion optimization. People who are good at it are a super, white hot commodity. They're so good. they tend to change jobs every 18 months. We've done research on this. And every 18 months, they get a better job offer.
Wow.
And so if you are if you're looking for a job, students, consider CRO. It's incredible.
Yeah. And I know this is a little bit off the rapid fire, but where would somebody get started? Would you read a blog? How would you just get a crash course into it? Go to a conference?
Conferences are great. You could start with Digital Marketer. My friend Justin Rondo is there. He's got some great posts and stuff on that. Really great posts. Pep Laya at Conversion XL is great. Which Test One is transitioning to behave.org. And they'll still be publishing tests. And so there's 3 great resources right there. Also, a lot of the tool vendors have great blogs. Convert.com, BWO, Optimizely. I shouldn't name them. I mean, I should name because I'm going to forget some, but start with their blogs.
Yeah, no, that's
Unbounced
sure.
Lead Pages. They've all got wonderful blogs.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where I get a lot of my ideas is when they share results from other tests and just share the ideas, because these tool vendors they're the closest, or they have the most data a lot of the times to look at these things. Great. How have the test results you've seen matched up to or not with the academic behavioral psychology theories you talked about earlier?
Right. I think this is so fun. I love seeing results that are the absolute opposite of what you expect. I love to be surprised. And honestly, testing is a surprise every day. So we know, quote unquote, best practices, and this is what you do. And then so people will implement something on their site and the result will be the exact opposite. Like the example I gave you of the blue underline hyperlink versus a big orange button. Nobody would think that would win, but with certain audiences, in this case, it was, potentially grandmas, and they just were more comfortable clicking on that blue hyperlink.
Yeah, expect the unexpected, I guess, is a good way to put it too.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, everything you know about behavioral psychology can help you design nice pages. But really, when it comes down to it, just make it really easy. There's a book called Don't Make Me Think, by Steve Krug. And read that and don't make people think. Just make it so easy for them to get through your conversion process.
Absolutely. What is the one thing most people are not aware of, but definitely should be when it comes to A/B testing?
This is another thing that I saw develop when I was speaking to all the business owners. When it comes to their business, they think like business owners. They don't think like their customer, and they are not their customers. And so there's something that everybody needs to test, and that is just simple clarity. So what is the next action you want people to take? So if they come to your site and they're on a particular page, what is the next action that you want them to take? You should be able to stand 10 paces back from your monitor and see exactly what that next action is. Okay, it should be that clear what you want people to do. And then the other thing is it should be super clear what your site is about. And so I call it the 5-year-old test. If you show your website to a 5-year-old, can they tell you what it's about? So just make it so simple and so clear, and start with that.
Yeah. Yes. Make it clear. Make it as clear as you can. I like it. Simplify. Don't try to pack everything in there and confuse them. And also, I always like to say, if you wouldn't buy this product, then why do you think that other people would? If you look at it and you put yourself in the mind of a consumer, and if you were like, I don't think that I would buy this, then you really have some back to the drawing board work you need to do.
Yeah, that's so true.
What's a good success story to get people excited about A/B testing?
I've seen so many different tests over the years that I tend to be more excited about the ones that involve some out-of-the-box thinking. And so kind of a recent favorite of mine is a test run by the incredible team at Royal Bank of Scotland. They have what they call a Superstar DJ program. And that is their testing department. And it's incredible. I've just never seen anything like it. They call the conversion, the CRO professionals, they call them DJs, for digital journey managers or something like that. And they have everybody in that entire company, from customer service to the board of directors, involved in conversion testing. They use Adobe and they use the dashboards and stuff, and people will help them think of tests, and then they'll set it up, and then they'll show them the results and stuff. And they have everybody involved in testing. It is so cool. And so one of my favorite tests isn't one that resulted in more sales, but it's a test that they ran on their customer service page that saved the company millions of dollars. They made it easier for customers to find what they were looking for on a customer service page, and that resulted in a decrease in calls. And they didn't have to call to get the answer. They could find it there on the page, and that saved the company millions. And I thought that was such a cool test.
Yes, rethinking things, and I like the idea of company-wide participation as well. I think that's what we call what an optimization culture, a data-driven culture, is looking at things and saying we're all into this. I think that's really where you're going to get the best results. That's like like how Amazon is. I hate to use Amazon as an example because they're often cited as an example, but they do a great job of creating that culture in their business.
That's right. It's interesting too. I mean, we're working with as many businesses that I have. There's some companies where the CRO is nobody knows who the person is. They're off at some satellite office, and they're just not really a part of the company culture. And in other companies, like my friends at Ancestry.com, they told me that their CEO comes to their meetings. His office is right around the corner from theirs, and they don't do anything without testing it at Ancestry.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's kind of a range there. It's interesting.
Yeah. What size of a company should they start testing? And I know you're going to say from day one, but is there usually a size of a team or number of visitors or how much sales they have before they can do this?
Of course, the answer is yes. Just plan on it from the beginning. You do have to have enough traffic to make that worthwhile, and there's all kinds of online traffic calculators, so just look at those. But just plan for it from the very beginning, and don't just test landing pages. You need to test your ads and everything too. Mm-hmm. But just plan on it from the beginning. Have a plan, and if you're the one that's doing it, then fine. It's that important. Outsource something else.
Yeah. I like that. I like that thought. I might have to implement that a little bit more myself. What's a misunderstanding that people have about A/B testing?
They think it's going to be too hard to do.
Yeah, interesting. How easy is it to adjust to the business side of marketing? You've gone from executing and coaching and doing all kinds of fun things to being responsible for your own business. Has that been an easy adjustment? Is there any advice you'd have for people doing that themselves?
I said this before and I'll say it again, but look at the highest and best use of your own time. What should you be doing? What should you hire out? I can write pretty well, but I don't really enjoy it. And so I've got writing help. I have people that help me write things. Like I said, I can write really well, I guess, but it takes up too much of my brain time. And I just don't want to use it on that. And so I've hired that out, and I can do some things on WordPress. I can, do a little bit with HTML, but if it's beyond my little bit of skills, honestly, I don't want to know how to do more. I don't want to know more about HTML. I can look at it so it's not like a foreign language. But I don't want to be the one making the changes and stuff. And so I hire stuff like that out. And so I spend my time talking to people. And I love that.
Yeah. I think that's fascinating to think about it as like an arc of a career. It's like when you're first getting started, you want to consume and learn everything that you possibly can. You want to soak it all in and grab as much knowledge as you can. And then as you mature in your career, it's all about letting those things go again and getting back down to what makes you satisfied, what makes you happy, and what others can do. So it's basically, instead of doing everything and taking on as much as you can, it's getting rid of some of those things and trying not to have a drop off in performance and in value that you create.
Yeah, that's funny. This is another transition story from when I changed from being a teacher. I used to read fiction all the time, and God, I just hated self-help books. And I'd never read a business book. Even with the kids and stuff, I usually would read a book a week. And then when I started in online marketing and discovered this world that I had no idea about, I haven't read a fiction book since. All I've read are business books. And I still really love to learn. Thank heavens for Audible. That Audible gives me a lot of free time back because I can read while I'm grocery shopping and things like that,
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite business book, Jeff?
I always cite Good to Great because it was a breakthrough for me as far as like just deciding what you want to be good at, like the whole hedgehog concept. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoy that one. One that I read recently that I thought was pretty cool. Actually, two that I've read somewhat recently. One is like the $100 startup, about how anybody can start a business doing anything. I thought
that's
really
a fun
good.
one. Mm-hmm.
And then I just finished the Automatic Customer which is about subscription model businesses.
Uh-huh.
Great. So we're getting close now. How can you use A/B testing to prove value to a marketing organization?
It's so easy. Ask for their average conversion rate and their average order value, and then ask what it would mean to their bottom line to have even like a 0.5% increase in sales, and then help them do the math on that. And then show them how they could potentially get that 0.5% increase in sales.
Yeah.
It works best to tell it with a story, show examples of tests that you've seen online, show them what competitors are doing if they're doing testing, and but just tell it with a story. That's kind of my best advice there.
Yeah, I like that idea is tell them with a story, and then also put some numbers behind it if you can. I found that if you want to get buy-in from numbers people, you need to show numbers. They can't ever agree on fuzzy concepts. And so it depends on who you're selling this idea to. But if you're trying to get funding for it, then you need to show them what funding, what finance looks at. And so definitely put numbers behind it. Or if you're looking at convincing a marketer or somebody who is told by stories, then tell stories, or do both. You're probably going to have to do both actually to get it to be approved at some point.
Yeah, exactly. People will go in with just numbers and it doesn't work so well. They'll go in with just stories. It doesn't work so well. You've got to have both. But this is a really easy opportunity to do both. Just get those numbers, the average conversion rate, average order value.
Yep. All right. Well, we're getting pretty darn close. So sometimes this is a hard one to answer, but what is the best piece of career advice you received along the way?
Just take action. That's it. Don't overthink to the point of inaction. Just take action.
I love it. Just do it.
Yep.
And actually, I don't know if we have to edit that out because Nike might get us in trouble. But what advice do you have for a new marketer, somebody who's looking to get into this area?
Well, aside from don't overthink it, just take action. Find your niche. Don't expect to be good at everything. And frankly, I don't know that you need to try to be good at everything. It's good to have kind of a foundation of knowledge. I mean, I can do quite a bit with WordPress. I know some HTML. I can copyright. I can do lots of things. I'm really good at Facebook ads. But don't expect to be good at every single thing. Just kind of get that foundation of knowledge, and then whatever interests you the most, go after that. If you love to write, learn more about sales copywriting and become a great copywriter. My friend Colin Therio has a group on Facebook called The Cult of Copy that I highly recommend for anybody interested in copywriting. And if you're interested in AdWords, go after that. Just whatever it is, find your niche, and then find maybe a business niche that you can work in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Find a niche, but also find something that people will pay you to do.
Yeah.
That often is a lot of the direction that many of us take is somebody paid us to do it, so we must be good at it and it must be worthwhile. And that I think that it might not be the same as finding your calling, but it is a key to a successful career, because good ideas aren't worth anything unless people are willing to pay for them and unless they're willing to work with you.
Yep. You're the yin to my yang, Jeff. That makes perfect sense.
Awesome. Great. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation and really revealing. I'm excited. I am one of those people who is scared of A/B testing. I've done it many times over the years, but I've never been able to turn it into a process. And as I build up my business, I want to provide that culture that it is just everybody thinks about it. It's not just a one person thing. It's what we do is we always try to make things better. So I'm excited that you inspired me to do this.
Oh, I'm glad too. And I'm happy to help in any way you need it. It's just, you have to do it. If you want to build a business and you want to get more bang for your buck, it really needs to be part of your process in everything that you do. Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today, Andrea, and looking forward to talking to you well into the future.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Talk soon.
Wow. So Andrea said that this is her first podcast, although later on I think we might have figured out that it's actually her second. But I feel like she's been doing this for years. I'm guessing that has to do with coaching calls and talking with so many entrepreneurs / dealing with special people for her entire career. We'll call entrepreneurs special. The insights she was able to gain in her coaching gig served as fuel for all the aspects of her career. It's really a remarkable story. Mother of 5 small children becomes a trusted leader in an industry that I love. She even helped me get over my fear of conversion optimization, at least temporarily. I look forward to following Andrea's success as she moves on to the next chapter, and I take comfort that she has already developed the blueprint for success through her previous experiences. For show notes, visit Jeffalytics.com/Andrea.
Seconds later, you will be just fine. Just do